Welcome to the Independence by Design podcast, where we discuss what it means to be a business owner and ways to get unstuck from the day-to-day so we can design a business that gives us a life of independence. One of my favorite things about doing this long-form podcast is we get to dive into the actual details of someone's whole story, because when I listen to a podcast, what I want to know is, how are people making decisions based on what they want? Like, what was obvious, what was not? What decisions did you make? And then how did it go? And then what would you have done differently? That's exactly why I was so excited to have my friend Tom Nagler on the show today. I've known him for years, and I was in the trenches with him when he was making some of the hardest decisions that he's made. And we spend time going all the way back to how he joined the family business, how he went through the buyout with his dad, how he ended up growing the company and juggling cash flow, had an out of the blue offer. He ended up not taking that, and then growing the company, acquiring a business, partnership stuff, and then the decision to actually sell, and then what he's doing afterwards. So it's a full story arc. And I have to say that Tom is one of the most thoughtful people I've met. He really felt the weight of every decision, did everything he could to get all the information in front of him, clarify his goals, and then went forward with his decisions without regret. And he spent a couple hours with me reflecting on that journey. And it was an honor to be able to share the story with you, because I am so grateful for Tom and the time that he spent sharing what he went through and what he's learned from his journey. So I really hope you enjoy the long form conversation with Tom and the full story arc. If you want to go check out the newsletter that I've been publishing, it's ryantansom.com. I got some material out there on business valuations, and I hope you enjoy this podcast with Tom. Well, Tom, look at your smile. This is gonna be fun, man.
Surprisingly nervous, man. I've known you a long time, but surprisingly nervous. It's funny.
Yeah, isn't it funny? I can't even imagine what it'd be like to go on Rogan when he hits record. My God, I think I'd shit myself.
Yeah, like you're
panic attack. I remember when I did my first. When I did my first presentation in front, like keynote in front of people, Tom, I literally got up and I just stared. I just utterly completely. I'm like, who is this idiot? Why is he up there sweating? What's he doing?
Before the call, I was like, let me put some spreadsheets up on my other monitor so I feel more comfortable. You know, I have all this stuff over here so that I can be comfortable. You know.
As we jump in here, so I'll just tell you, I want to tell you a story, because I've been thinking about how we want to do lift off of your journey. So when you and I were on our coaching calls years ago, the reason I enjoy our relationship is because you were going through the material, Tom, and you were racking your brain with what path do I go? Yes. What do I do? And the amount of emotions that you were experiencing, just it was so fun to be in that moment with you, man. Just sitting there holding it, going there's a lot of shit on my shoulders here. And I a lot of ramifications depending on what I do with myself and this business. And how seriously you took that was why I like you. It was you didn't, you thought so hard about it. So anyways, I just wanted you to know, because I don't think I'd shared that story with you, of how much I know you think about the outcomes. Yeah. It's just, you're a very thoughtful person. And I just wanted you to know that, given it's been a few years and you made decisions that, are in stone now. I just know how hard you thought about it, how much work you put into it. So yeah, you should be proud, man.
I appreciate it, brother. And right time, right place, right? I met you, and yes, I was ready to do that work, right? And it's a business, but it's also especially when it's family, which I know you know, and then it's you add decades worth of personal sunk costs in there as well, right? There's all this sense of belonging and importance and meaning and these larger things kind of attached to the business itself. It's really not just the business. And you guys, you had your finger on the pulse of that and helped walk me through.
It's so fun, man. It was really fun to be in that.
You know?
Really fun to be in the trenches with you. And so
Yeah.
you know, for our conversation, I think what we could do is take the story arc. I want to hear, I think the audience, what I would love for the audience and for, as we go through this is like, what kind of thinking you went through, what was the journey? And cause you ended up selling the business.
Yep.
It wasn't obvious at all for you of what you were going to do with the business, but like,
No.
what was the bit like, let's just start kind of high level. Like what was the business and, family business. And then what led you to me and like, how did that kind of triggering event happen?
Yeah, sure. So my business was Natech Plastics. We were a contract manufacturer. Our primary technology was injection molding. So it was basically plastic centric execution of client designs. Over the course of the sale happened in July of 2023, and over the course, I would say, the last 15 years, we focused almost exclusively on the medical market. Um, I started there. It was a family firm. My dad started it. Um,
What year did he start it?
he started it in 1998, but it was the second iteration for him. He had built and sold an earlier version of the firm, and so he was like a career entrepreneur. He got done polishing every brick around the house, and my mom basically kicked him out.
Like you're annoying me. Go do something.
Yeah, he's probably like my age now, like early 50s. He sold and exited. It was like mid 90s. He like stayed home for maybe a year, maybe 18 months, and just couldn't sit still anymore. So,
Yeah.
and at the time, I just graduated school, and I had starting my career. I was a few years into my career, and it was like a fork in the roads in late '99, early 2000, where he had just sort of gotten Natech off the ground. Real ground and pound, like less than $1 million in sales, 4 machines. It was looking back on it, it's just crazy where we went from that early.
So did you I'm curious, Tom,
Yeah.
did your what was your exposure to entrepreneurship? Because my mine was because of same situation. My dad started the business in 99 or 97, and it was 9:00 at night. He'd come home and I'd hear the war stories.
Totally.
And that's where I kind of got a little bit of my fix of he's going and eating shit, and we can actually design our own destiny. But how did you get exposed to that with your dad?
Yeah, I love in retrospect, I love the way I grew up on that area of my upbringing. It was my dad brought the business home with him. We all knew did the shop have work? Did the shop not have work?
That's awesome.
And if the shop didn't have work, you better run. You know what I mean? That's the story I'll say for my therapist. But and when he had successes, when he got a big job or he would share that with us. We were excited as a family. I have a big family of 3 sisters and a brother, so it was very down home, man. And injection molding, I don't know, most people know it from when you build models. Have you ever got a model kit and it comes on the runner, all the pieces?
Because I never got to visit your shop, but there's a plastic injection molding company in the Twin Cities, Sport Tech. You ever heard of that company?
Yep.
Yeah, Chris Carlson's been on the podcast, the founder, and so he started with the plastic injection molding of the snowmobile shields. And when I went in there, Tom, he had freaking, because they do all the plastic injection molding for the side by sides and ridiculous wood, what do you call those things that the casings and stuff like that?
Oh, the tooling.
And just just wild shop, man.
Yep.
Just how fast they grew. And
so there was basically they would come on a runner, which is a plastic carrier, and parts would need to be broken off and separated. This is very old school. It's no longer like this a lot, but so my dad would come home with boxes of the raw parts, and basically we'd all sit around the kitchen table. We had wicker baskets, and we'd separate the parts off of the runner.
That's awesome.
And you get $2 a box. $2 a box.
Slave labor, baby.
And you couldn't start until you finished your homework. So we would I would, not all my siblings, I happened to have that in me, where it was the idea of filling up my piggy bank with those $2 was so strong in me early on. So I think that's part of my nature, you know what I mean, in some sense. Yeah.
That's so cool.
So it was very intimate, the growing up, and it was very much a part of our family and me as his oldest son. It was I took to that a fish to water, So
when you graduated then, and it's $1 million in sales, did you have other like other opportunities? Like, how was it obvious or not obvious to go work with your dad?
I did. It was not obvious. Like we didn't. I did not get along with my dad as a teenager, or in college, right? And it was like, there's no way I'm doing this. Was kind of where I was at mentally in my early 20s, and I had 5 years. I graduated in 95, 96 area. I had a few years under my belt. I had like a good job. I was in sales for like a large like international company, and
Doing what? Like, what
I
were you
had
selling?
prospects there.
Yeah, what were you selling?
I was selling rolled steel coil out of Japan. I worked for
Okay,
a Japanese trading company, and so I spent a lot of time. I've been in factories my whole life. Like I was all over the Midwest at steel service centers, basically taking Japanese businessmen around the Midwest, selling rolled steel coil to like service centers and people that supplied the big three.
that's awesome. And then
Yeah,
we were over there talking to copiers.
yeah, yeah, totally, totally. Don't pull up into Ford with driving a Honda. You know what I mean? Just don't do it.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So, and it was like, okay, thanks for letting me talk through this. I appreciate you. I applied to business school at the time. I was 26. I applied to like the top 6 business schools. I was like, big or bust, right? I got rejected from all 6. I got rejected from all
Jokes on
6.
them now, right?
Yeah, I got rejected from all 6. And at Marabeni, I basically I solicited from them like, hey man, I want to work in a foreign office. I want to work in Brazil because I had my buddy lived in Brazil.
Cool.
And like I had an imagination around Brazil somehow.
Yeah, some like erotic, beautiful place.
Exactly. And they were like, you can't go to Brazil, but you could go to Tokyo. This was like December of 1999. And my dad at the same time had just started, he just got NATOC off the ground. And he was like, do you want to come work for me? And that was it, man. I could have like went left and went to Tokyo and been like international business person, or went right and I went to Ronkonkoma where I was ordering my own toilet paper,
Well, this is where it's so fascinating. Like I call those like the timeline splits in the simulation. Where you're like, and there's this other world. I'm like some corporate executive.
In another world, I could speak Japanese fluently, and I'm like, yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
what So like when I think about because I like so much, I resonate so much with how you and your pops and like all the dynamics, and like I was like, no way in hell I'm going to work.
Yeah.
And because like him and I are like oil and water, just 2 alpha males, and like there's not enough oxygen in the room for both handsome. And then,
that's exactly it, man. Yeah.
And like the world took a shit, and I graduated during the financial crisis, and I was like, all right, fine. So like.
Yeah.
What led you to actually wanting to do it? Did you see an opportunity? Did you think it was going to be yours, more money? Like, what was the deal?
Look, man, I mean, like you said, like the oil and water part, like the best part about a family business is trust, right? Like, I know that my dad has my best interests at heart, right? And like when we would make decisions, like we would go head to head on decision making like crazy, right? But like in the end of the day, you could put that question of trust aside, right? And like, where in business are you able to do that? I mean, I come to find that in many places nowadays because I'm a different person. I'm capable of trusting, but I think
family's different.
What's that?
Family's different, though. I mean, I'm tracking what you're saying. Yeah,
family's different. Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting that you recognize that early.
I don't know that I recognize that. I think also like I always I wanted my dad's approval, like
no, I do know. Like I have it took me many decades to go like, you're gonna love me no matter what, so fine. Come on.
By the way, my dad passed away in 2016. I find myself still looking for his approval. You know what I mean? So it's like,
have you ever done the love languages thing?
I have.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm raging affirmation, and I'm like,
raging.
Yeah, like just like I said to my wife, I'm like, all you have to do is be like, that a boy, and I will run through walls for you.
Yes,
and like
100%.
Dishes those out like barely ever. And I'm just like, so when I get it, it's just like, but so I think a lot of this comes from the childhood, right? Like just, that's awesome. So
I used to say my dad gave me a compliment once back in 1986, You know what I mean?
And it was enough to suck you into the business. Like, come
Yeah, it
on,
was
Dad,
like,
how many boxes do I got to fill?
man, the carrot was just out of reach. It was like, oh, like I got the order, and then it was like, where's the deposit check? I got the deposit check. Well, now you have to make the order. Like, I made the order. Like, are you sure they liked it? You know, like literally.
Oh, that's awesome. So I
Yeah,
came back from like one of my first sales calls, Tom.
yeah,
And I mean, like, it was a big effing order. Like, I'm 22
yeah,
years old,
yeah.
and I come back and I'm like,
How big was the order,
geodime.
man? Let's talk about it. What was the order?
So,
Let's hear it.
well, I hit quota in the first 6 months. So I was five. So two parts of this, right? And this is not
Let's
about me. I
go.
want to go back.
Yeah,
So first 6 months in the job, I'm in the bullpen, and it's like, I work hard, twice as hard as everybody else to make sure they don't think you're entitled prick, or you
yes,
just like, or you
100%.
just wear the entitled prick suit,
Yeah,
and so it's like sell as much shit as everybody. I hit $295,000 in quota in 6 months, which is an annual quota, and they wouldn't let me go to President's Club. I was like, F off. Like, I sold literally a year's worth of shit in 6 months.
Love it.
And so I got back with this order, and I was like, it was geodime. It was like, I think it was like 300 and some thousand bucks. And
it's a big friggin' order.
I come back, I was like, I got the verbal on this deal. And my dad goes, show me the paperwork. And I was like, well, I mean, it's a verbal. He goes, good luck paying your mortgage with a verbal.
Yeah. I look, man. I got an exact. Well, I'll never forget it. It was like exactly the same thing. It was like a $400,000 tooling order. It was like our biggest tooling order ever as a company. And I was like, I got the order, and he was like, you don't have it until the check comes in. I was. and maybe you identify with this one too. Like, my mom called me at night to tell me that he was proud of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My mom called me that night because he knew he had crossed the line, because like I just was furious, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, give him a bone. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, you know what, man? It's like today I can like enjoy my successes as they happen, right? I don't need to put that carrot out on myself, And like we're all contextual, right? We come from somewhere. Mm-hmm. And he was also contextual, right? And like we pass on what's given to us. Mm-hmm. So the beauty of it is like we get to write our story as we go.
Well, and I think you're 100% right, Tom. And the reason I love starting with the backdrop, because like all of these decisions led up to, like, I can picture that moment like yesterday, just how much you were toiling on what do I do with my path. Mm-hmm. And it's all of the stuff that goes into it. Mm-hmm. And all the history. I mean, so in one part you're speaking Japanese, and you're in Tokyo, and then this was another timeline split. Yeah. So like what at $1 million you start, and like what was the journey like, man? Like, as you were growing the business, like what was the dynamic with your dad and you? And like, you hear me talk a lot about operations versus ownership, and like how like my dad and I had no clarity on any of that stuff. How did you guys navigate your relationship and the operations and the strategy?
We were great partners, man. Great partners in terms of like skill split, like he was fantastic on the shop floor, like the best engineer that I've ever met, hands down. Incredible designer as well. So like really super creative. I can run with that too. But like the areas where he was I would call it disinterested in. He was a good closer, but he wasn't necessarily like a sale. Like I knew how to like get the clients. I was capable of. I don't love this scope of work, Ryan. That's why I hesitate to even go down this direction mentally. But like, I was good at like process oriented. I'm good at that. I hate it, but I'm good at it. The computer and data and all that stuff. I call it finding the nickel. Like, I'm really good at finding the nickel, but it's the worst part of me. I get out of that activity and I'm just like,
yeah, you've got spreadsheets up on the monitor to keep you comfortable.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And like he knew to like he encouraged me to educate myself. I did wind up like, so then 10 years, like in 2008, I did wind up going, I like went back to business school
Oh, did you
and
really?
got my executive MBA in like 08, 09. And that was like, that was a big investment for the company. And my dad had this, like, he had like, it was like every other weekend, every other Friday, Saturday for 22 months. And, he had this like, and it required like a lot of work outside of the thing. And he had like the list of the dates on next to his desk, and he would like cross out the dates. It was like a prison. It was like a prison wall, you know.
Like the tallies on a prison
Yeah,
wall.
that he would cross out the dates, and so like he knew to invest. Like he himself might not have upgraded to those things, but he knew to invest in that, and he
That's
knew
awesome.
to like let me go, and do my thing, you know.
That's
Um,
interesting.
so it was like real dichotomy where he would like push me forward, but at the
Hmm.
same time be stubborn around certain things. Um,
What was the power dynamic of you two? Because like did you understand, like it sounds like the roles were complementary as your
yep,
jobs, but like what
yep,
was the conversation or lack of, or I don't, as far as like, hey, this might be yours, Tom, what's the buy-in, how does this work, like, because like
yep,
for my father and I mean the whole reason I'm doing this 11 years later is I wish I would have had all this kind of clarity so we could have had good conversations around this shit.
yep.
um what was the dialogue as far as like, was there a bigger picture plan or a transition plan or anything in the works
the,
throughout the
the
years?
the transition plan was there. Transition plan meaning like, hey, you're gonna pay me. You're gonna. You, he had his transition plan in mind. He definitely did. You know,
Well,
but
did it reconcile with your plan or?
it would change based on like what day it was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like, and also like I only understand this now as like I'm getting a little bit older. I believe me, I do not like own any age related limitations, but there is like a certain amount of like energy level that you have at 30 that you just it's it gets less and less available. You know.
yep.
So 10 years in at NATEC, imagine like now he's in his early 60s, and it would be like he would, one day would be on fire, and the next day would be like, do what you want to do, kind of,
I yeah, like
kind of
I
thing, you
used to
know?
have that. It was like, go do all this shit. No,
Yeah,
don't do this stuff. We're
yeah,
selling the company. No, I don't want to sell the company. I need a
yeah,
big distribution. By the way, how come you haven't grown more? And I'm just like,
yeah,
I'm so
yeah,
tired. And it's just like
yeah.
perpetual whiplash.
Also, like the way of running the business, like I talk about it a lot. It was like we would strip mine the balance sheet, and I know you love the three statement model, and I love Columbia University that taught me the three statements and taught me how to understand cash flow and not just the income statement and the
Yeah,
bank statement. How much money
that's
do I
awesome.
have in the bank, and how,
I
right?
love it.
Like you always talk about that, and that resonates so deeply with me. And also like the way that usually operates from a decision making perspective is like, well, when you get the thing, then we'll buy the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that
I like that.
works. It works, right?
Till it doesn't.
And but it's like one of the ways where we diverged once I bought his shares, his final tranche of shares, was I would make R&D based. I would make decisions based on strategy.
So I want to get to that, but like,
Yeah.
okay, so how was it pretty simple to go from your dad owns the business to Tom owns the business, or how did you actually like? How did you come up with a price and the payment terms and all that stuff? Because
Yeah.
like before you even answer, Tom, what I used to get is, wait
Yeah.
a second, you're gonna buy me out with my own cash flow? That sounds idiotic.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
well, I didn't have the verbiage to explain to him why that actually matters if he quit his job. But
Yeah.
how did you guys
Yeah.
get to your arrangement?
Look, well, first off, like he granted me like sweat equity along the way, right? So
Nice.
I was like a minority shareholder, a significant minority shareholder. I think like I had roughly 40% or something like that by the time like we made the deal for the final 60%. And in his um, and my dad had like reasonable expectations. Like he was an immigrant. he came from Germany in 1962. Like, it seems crazy, but like, like he grew up with dirt roads and,
Yeah. And
like,
needs
it's
were met.
wild that
And
like that I, am so closely connected to like, and farm. It was basically like a 2,000 person farming town, so it's like he
Mhm.
had a very basic, for him, it was like about caring for him, about caring for my mother, about like a reasonable price,
Mhm.
sometimes he was reasonable, sometimes he wasn't, but I mean, ultimately, like, I'm super blessed, man. Like,
That's so cool.
yeah, he respected, he knew, he knew what I brought to the table. He
It's that trust you were talking about.
Yeah, he built me, he built me, right, in some sense, and then I built myself. I built on top of what he built,
Mhm.
and so I don't have any complaints at all, man. Like, he treated me very fairly, but it was mostly like on yellow legal paper. Like,
I do know.
I
It's so
want, I
funny.
want, I want some spending money. Make sure your mother has this, right? Like, and $8 million for the rest of the yeah, yeah. And it'd be like, wait a minute,
You
like, where
still
are you
pay
getting that?
my
Yeah.
health insurance and
And
my
then,
phone bill.
then he crossed it out and write 4 million. You know what I mean? It was like, if you just better feed him well and catch him on the right day. You know what I'm saying? Something like that.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah,
hey, we're gonna go hang out at the cabin to get you nice and like
yeah,
warmed up, and then I'm
yeah,
gonna slide in the yellow pad of paper
yeah,
with the
yeah.
new number on it.
So I got a folder full of like his yellow sheets. Yeah, I would come in, he would leave. He had a yellow pad. He loved writing scratch notes on yellow pad. It was a skill to actually read his handwriting. And it would be like, fire everybody, do this, do that, like, collect the money from so and so. Like, like everything with like an exclamation point on the end of it. Like,
Everything's urgent.
and
Everything's
that would be
priority.
like sitting on my desk when I got there in the morning. It's like,
Oh, that's awesome. Did you guys have
I loved working
and
with him, man.
did you with Columbia and like with your education, one of the things, because now like why I love talking about these past stories, because like over
Yeah,
the journey of us learning this, we learn the concepts to use. We're like, our
yep,
jobs are in the income statement, and the cash flow statement is where we have the debt service or owner's distributions. Like,
yeah. You
how
also have
did
your
you,
strategy in there, Ryan, right?
yeah, like how did you
All your
start
decisions
thinking
are in
about
there.
that?
So I look at NATEC as like blocks of time, like the like 2000 to 2000, like five or so was like, I call it like operations. Like, we got our ISO certification, which was like,
Okay.
it's basically like a process based thing for manufacture. That was, again,
Mm-hmm.
like something that I really fought for. It was like a stamp of credibility. Like, we implemented computer, like at the time, like I built our own database, and
Mm-hmm.
we did all these operations things to make the company like more stable and efficient. We probably grew from like 1 to 4 million in sales, something like that. And then the next phase was kind of like the people phase, and I stumbled around a lot, like trying to build the team out. And
What worked and
um,
what didn't work in that phase?
like, when I think about like what I can add to the universe, it's like I almost feel like that was like a 10-year journey that I could like really help people get through quicker than I did, because just made a lot of mistakes along the way.
With the
And
people side or
yeah, with the people side, like, but like the hiring and developing of a team. By the time I left NATEC, man, like the team, uh, my best example of this is um, recently one of the young engineers on the team, um, on the NATEC team, like posted about like how the NATEC values, uh, like, what they mean to her,
Oh,
right?
how cool.
This is a young engineer that like I basically never talked to, you know?
That shows a lot.
Yeah. And like, so that to me was like, oh, like, again, I like, I'm no longer an employee of that organization. And it was just a real gift to see, and
Especially
like,
2 years after the sale. I mean,
yeah,
that's a
yeah.
big deal.
And those values like were, I pulled one of my best friend in the world, and my business partner out of Colombia, he was David Kachui. He was like basically worked for Citibank as like a product manager. And at the time in Colombia, it was like 2008 area when we started, right? Right when you said you graduated college, what a lovely time to graduate college.
Yeah, right.
And I remember everybody was shitting their pants. Like, am I going to get a job? You know what I mean?
Well,
Like
yeah,
most people get their MBA, they want to like change careers or do something different. You
yeah. I
know?
was the idiot that was willing to work for $1,500 a month because I was a sales guy. I had
Yeah.
all of my smart friends had no job offers. I had 20. Because
Right.
people were like,
Right.
wait,
Right.
you're willing to do like we can pay you almost nothing and you go
Right.
sell shit? Fine. You're
Right.
hired.
Right. Yeah, your understanding of cash flow has evolved since then, right? You know?
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
none. Now I have some. This is better than none. So your partner you pulled out of Colombia and
Yeah, and like people were like, by the way, like manufacturing in the United States in the early 2000s was like a graveyard. There was
yeah.
like companies like us, like mom and pop manufacturing companies, were like going out of business. Like our trade paper read like a graveyard, right? In the early 2000s when I joined, you know, my dad. And so like people at Columbia were like, "You do what? Like, isn't that done in China? Like why? How are you doing that on Long Island, New York? You know?" And Dave, I always say Dave was like the crazy, like the only person in Columbia MBA at that time that was crazy enough to to join Nate Plus. So anyway, like what he brought a level of professionalism to us that was really helpful at the time. And like he showed up in a suit and tie every day. He had like a big company mentality, which like we were trying to make a leap from a mom and pop to like I used to call
How
it
many employees did you
like a
have
real
when
company, you know?
No, I do know. And like even the quote unquote real companies are still
Yeah.
exactly what we're talking about underneath
I
the
later come to find out that real company, you know? Yeah.
what does that even mean,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
exactly. Exactly. So Dave
so
sort
how,
of been, oh, sorry, Ryan, go ahead.
go for it because I was going to ask more about the Dave. Like, well, how big was the company when he joined? And like, did you sell him some shares or did he buy some share? Like, how did that work?
He he was the company was like maybe 4.5, 5 million in
Okay,
sales. He I later sold him. I sold him shares in 2018.
okay.
So he was with the company for almost 8 or 9 years. This
Were
was
you paying him a
after
lot of money? How did you get him to come over?
I gotta say, man, he's like an interesting cat. I don't know if you've met him, but you should meet him. He
No, I never met him.
I guess where we connect on is like the idea that Natech was like a living laboratory, right? Like I could go home, read a book, and like the next day I could walk in through the door. And this credit to my dad, like the next day I could walk through the door and like try something, you know? And that Dave loves
I
that. He loves that.
That is super cool how you said that. So
Yeah.
you almost like our stories are so fun to like. So I remember, so when I was sitting in the CFO's office when I quit, he probably doesn't remember it much, but I remember it like yesterday. And he's like, "Why do you want to leave?" Because it was a very good pay package at my age and all this shit. And I was like, I said because I said whose name is on the door?
Yes.
He said Loeffler. I'm like, it's not my name. And what I said to him, Tom, and I think that this is tied into as we get into
Yep.
like the rest of the story is the intangible value of having a business. Where I said to him, I said, being able to read a leadership book or a strategy book, and this is way before podcasts, right? And I said, and I could have an idea from listening to a book in the morning and literally show up in a meeting and make shit up, and it's
Yeah.
like this childhood playground as an adult.
Yeah.
And I said, like, and I'm sitting, and when I was sitting in his office, I was like, I got out of a management meeting of middle management with 10 people that can't make a fucking decision on anything. I quit. I was like, I can't. I'm professionally unemployable. Like, I don't belong here. But it was that whether it's a laboratory, I think what I heard on it, it's because you guys actually had a laboratory of tinkering. But like whether it's strategy or people or culture or ideas, like that's what a business becomes, is like this platform of like magnifying our ideas as a business owner.
Yeah, like one of the legs of my personal purpose is creativity, and which is the act of like birthing something new in the universe, right?
So
And
cool. Yeah.
yeah, in this sense, I was really talking less about like the creativity that was happening on the shop floor, and more about the creativity that you just mentioned, like
Okay.
and culture
And Dave saw that coming from
systems.
Citigroup.
He saw that. I mean, look, like the MBA process was like it was a bunch of busy professionals with so like you have you and 150 other like type A people trying to like do their best in like a crucible for 2 years. And it's like you really get to know people, man. Like he and I, like he was the guy that like, okay, if this thing had to be done at 2 o'clock in the morning, like I knew he would, like he and I had developed that kind of rapport where like through working together. So it was really the experience of the school that like gave us that kind of comfort level with each other that like, all right, like we're going to build something together,
It sounds similar to the trust that you and your dad had.
Yes, I like that. I like that.
Because I think
Dave sat in our office, Ryan. Imagine that. Imagine getting hired from Citibank and coming and sitting at 1750 Julie Goldbach Avenue together with me and my dad in like a 12 by 12 office.
like he had to have gone home that day and going,
Yeah.
what did I do?
Like, that guy is crazy, right? Like, that guy is crazy.
But what's fascinating is because you started this talking about the block 2 of the people part.
Yep.
And I have similar experiences, Tom, where like, so we went from like an insanely toxic culture when I started to after like gutting the whole thing. I read Zappos Delivering Happiness, and it was like life changing of like it like you said about that trust that you have as a family. Building that in an organization is, I think, one of the most magical things I've ever done. And there's no like, I've like, I mean, for 11 years tried to find trying to find a prescription. Trying to find a prescription for that is like almost impossible because you're trying to just harness that trust that you build, and then the idiosyncrasies of how you all interact, kind of the Navy SEALs where they don't communicate with words, they just kind of think. How did you and Dave, like, how did that show up as you're hiring people or like firing people when they don't fit? How did that work?
It's tough, man. It's tough. The foundation of it was, so I hired Dave. His first thing was like, why do the clients do business with us? And then it was like, we sort of like distilled. The long and short of it, it was a big journey, but the long and short of it is the values. The values are timeless, enduring principles. They are behaviors that we hold to, whether or not they're an economic disadvantage.
I love that a lot.
Right? And
give an example of like where you like held to your values, but it was an economic disadvantage.
Oh, I guess like there's so many circumstances where it comes into play where like, oh, like, are you gonna onboard that client when you know that the signals they're giving off are bullying tactics or price buying, or in business you're faced with circumstances where it's like, man, I got to eat tomorrow, right?
Totally.
Every day you're faced with these circumstances of like, I got to eat tomorrow, and like, how are you going to make those decisions if you don't know who you are? It's
so good, dude. We had this one company.
That's a lot of pressure, right, Ryan? You know that, man. The payroll.
Oh shit! Well, and I think we should even talk about like
payroll's coming in. The suppliers are knocking on the door. I used to be like, when do I get to exert power? Like the clients, the customers.
It's like this. Wham, wham,
it's like
wham.
It's like
Oh my God, so true. Tell where there's I don't have to go on to my own rambling stories, but I think
Please.
Well,
let's have a conversation.
You said something that was so important, which is like when it's not obvious, and that's why I keep asking, like when it's not obvious, because in hindsight 2020, we go, so many people listen to these podcasts and all this shit, and it's like, well, I just do these things. I'm like, F off. It was like if it was that obvious back when I was in that situation, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. And when you're running a business, like you're saying, it's like I got to eat. We got payroll. We got suppliers. We got inventory, and like. We had this company, Banner Engineering, where it was like, we just effed up everything with the order. And like, we were broke from cash flow. Again, on paper, again, there's a difference between illiquid value and liquid value. And it was just like, we have no money. And we took all of the equipment back. And they were a raving fan of ours for like a decade. And it's just like, we don't have any money. We have to take all this equipment back. And so I just learned those principles from watching my father, watching the hard decisions, and then participating in those. And it's like this person, we need to keep them, but like they're a disaster and we were making a bunch of money off them. And it's just.
Yes. On the people side, that's almost constant. Like when I talked about like, oh, I wish I could speed up people's journey through the people side, it would start with the values, because for at least 5 years, I hired based on like, oh, you had a certain skill. And now I know that that's like just the minimum. Like that's just the bar, And
like, honestly, are the right people might not even have the skill yet.
But they might not. And by the way, I don't even care. I want the right raw material. Exactly, Ryan. Exactly. I later came to believe that I was completely wrong. That what I was doing was just looking at like, how do they make my life easier tomorrow? By the way, that's not.
And it's perception of easy, because how often did it work actually?
Yeah. And when I started flipping that and being like, all right, it's my responsibility to develop. It's my responsibility to provide an exciting scope of work. It's my responsibility to give them a picture of the envisioned future that they could see themselves in. Right.
What was it like for you learning how important that was? And the reason I'm asking that question is because I learned that too. And it was like, it took a long time for me to realize like people don't have that. Like they can't see it. And like, it's that communication of the vision, how freaking important that is. Communication of the vision and the expectations. And like how they fit. And it's like, it's just interesting to me, like how people, I'm so not an employee that it just does it. It's like being outside the matrix and being like, I know somehow it makes sense to all of them, but it's not me.
Yeah. I guess that you're right, man. There's like that eternal split. It's like, I used to say, if you can, I don't know where I got these 4 questions from, but credit to whoever I got them from, but it was, where are we going? How are we going to get there? What's my part in it? And what's in it for me when we do?
That's super cool.
And I felt like if we had an organization where you could walk up to anybody's desk and ask them those 4 questions and they had an answer, if any organization, if you could walk up to a random employee and ask them those 4 questions and then they have an answer, you're going to go to the moon.
Well said.
You're going to go to the moon,
And it's, and back to like the Daves and the people that you guys are hiring. And I mean, it really starts, from my experience, it's like, it's this core, it's like the Fibonacci sequence. You got to start at the beginning and then just it spirals out. And the moment that some weak link is in there, it's brutal, man. Like it just screws up the whole thing. So what was it like in the growth phase, and maybe more on the mechanical side? Because you and I both have hilarious stories about cash flow. It's like, growth is really effing expensive.
It really is, man.
And so like, were you guys buying all the inventory and all the equipment and all the people? So like, what's it like as you're holding on to this growth? Like, how are you growing? What's the cash, the cash cycle like, and how are you managing it?
So I didn't know any of it. Like, I didn't get super skilled. I didn't get skilled at that part of things, Ryan, like managing the three statement model, until like sort of like in between Columbia, post Columbia in that area. So like we're talking like 2012 area, something like that, where like I really started to be, other than that, it was just like you said, like the income statement and the bank statement, right? And like we would make decisions from the hip, and like if they wound up biting, or I wouldn't even say from the hip, it was like a combination of intuition and experience, right?
Which is what most people do, man. Like,
look, man, those are powerful things, right? Like if you work 25 years at something, you stub your toe enough, you know not to stub your toe. I mean, it's just as simple as that. So like we did have that, and my dad had 40 plus years of that, So
I think it's agreed, and I think like literally 99% of the people listening in are doing that, and it does work. I mean, I've watched people with $200 million companies doing that.
Oh yeah.
But what happens is like, okay, fuck, I got these 4 hires that I have to make. I got these POs that I got coming in. I got to buy this kind of inventory. How much? I got $2 million in the bank account.
Yeah.
Our receivables of this. And every morning and every evening, that's what we mentally do. Instead of seeing it on a dashboard, we end up like internalizing it. So there is no method to the madness. But like when I think about like accelerated growth, and as you're sitting there, I mean, capital intensive, just like my old business.
Yeah, I used to say that like the reward for success in a capital intensive business is you need to go get more. You need to invest more capital. That's your reward, man. Like we would get like a great client or something like that, and all of a sudden be like, all right, well, you need another $250,000 machine, you know?
I know.
Or you need
what
another,
about me?
Or you need another building, or you need another engineer, right? So it's like I laugh when I think about like, you know, like again, like you mentioned, like books or like podcasts or like private equity, like these where it's like, oh yeah, like fast growth and fast. It's like, okay, like yeah, I want high growth and high profit. Like, all right, like good luck finding that, man. Like,
I would like to drink a case of beer a day, wake up, have a 6-pack, and then be able to be nice and peaceful.
Like,
They're
they're by their very nature, they feed on one another. It's like
I think the dysfunction in that narrative, Tom, is that in a SaaS-based company, a software company, once it's built,
that's right, man.
But then like everyone takes the directions off of that, and I'm going like, well, any professional services firm that sells people, you have to hire ahead of the demand, which it sucks. I've had a company like that. And then distribution, like I was, you have like, I've done workshops for distributors. I'm like, raise your hand if you feel like you're the bank for everybody, and everyone raises their hand. It's like, I buy shit, I float it, I have inventory, receivables, and then everyone has my money besides me. And then manufacturing, it's like, so like the real economy has to pay attention to this shit.
Yes. Yeah, we didn't have big inventory, man. Like we were built to PO primarily. So
but your equipment, I mean, it's got
tons of equipment. We have tons of fixed costs, like in terms of like space and people and that kind of stuff. So like, and we did have inventory, but that wasn't the thing that kept me up at night. It was the people and the things that kept me up at night in terms of like, okay, like once you make that, and these are like, you know what really helped a lot? Like I took an activity-based costing class at Columbia, or it was an operations finance class or something like that. And like the professor there was like super skilled at ABC costing. And like I used it to like create price at NATAC. And we went from like, then I would start like analyzing like these like little jobs that we would, so like the big picture message of activity-based costing is like you overprice long-running jobs and underpriced short-running jobs in general, right?
Okay.
And then there's like some psychology behind it and math behind that, whatever. So like I started looking at like these like little repair jobs that we did, and I break it down like, okay, like, well, somebody has to call the supplier, or somebody has to like communicate with them. Then they have to go back to the client and communicate with the client. And so like I started counting up all the hours associated with these jobs. Something that we would charge like, oh, $2,000 for this repair. And then like, I'm like, oh my God, like we got to charge $8,000 for this thing. Right. And like, I would charge $8,000 for this thing and the clients wouldn't bat an eyelash. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Cha-ching.
Like how long have something like I've actually found willingness to pay, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
And and basically like one of the principles underneath that is like being able to look at like your capacity and know how to like feather the gas of pricing, and like if you're under capacity and at capacity, and step resources like each.
This is super fascinating to me.
Yeah, like engineers and stuff like that are like step resources, right? It's like you get one and then you like unlock a certain amount. It's not a curve. It's a step curve, you know. And so like cost in many cases in our business was like a step curve. So you'd have to like buy the next tranche. The next tranche would not have the capacity utilization for quite some time after that.
Yep.
You know, so it was many of the resources that we bought would be like that. They would be like step resources. And you have to know how to price.
Another way is like we buy something, we have no cash, then the cash comes, then we buy something, we have no cash, then the cash comes.
Yes. And look, man, like the act of actually just knowing that that's the story, like that's a whole different life. Like otherwise you can make these decisions and 2 weeks later be like, I fucked up. Like, oh my God.
Oh, isn't
what
that
am I
like
do?
you just said 100%, dude, like just the knowing.
Yeah.
is sometimes enough medicine to go, oh, it's just how it works.
Yes.
Instead of being like the
Yes.
whip, I think it's
Yes. And now you can like let your own decision breathe because they need to. Because they need to. You
that
know.
is so. I love how you worded that, man, because how many times I think I get on meetings with people and it's this perpetual exhaustion of second
Mm-hmm.
guessing
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, and that honestly, if I were to sum up, probably Tom, now that you're at how you're wording this, like that's like 99% of the reason I built out the entire playbook that I did. It's like,
Yeah.
I just want to know how it works so I don't have to be so stressed.
Yeah. I look at your playbook. I was at a conference once, like a medical conference, and there was a CEO, a woman that was speaking, and she said that the CEO's number one job is to manage their own psychology.
Mm.
You know, and I look at like what you're doing now is like you're giving these owners like the tools necessary, like the factual tools necessary to manage their own psychology, right?
Isn't that fascinating too? Because like what I do like that because that's where at the end of the day, like let's say someone had
You're gonna
everything built
flail
out
around
perfect.
like a child every time something doesn't go your way, or like change your decision or blame other people. Like these are very important skills, man. These are very important skills.
And it's kind of like you and I had fathers where we watched what that looks like on
Sure.
the good and the bad. And it's like, and we're trying, I think to your point, it's like, if we know how it works, then we can manage our expectations. And I don't begrudge anyone. Like if you don't know it's a step change where you invest and then you have no cash and you invest and you have no cash,
You,
like you're going to be exhausted not knowing
oh
what's
yeah,
happening.
oh yeah. You're gonna live with a lot of fear, right?
And like, and it's interesting that you've honed in on this, Tom, because like, I mean, I think about how emotional you were in that one meeting, which is what everybody is, but like you had all the information, which was I found awesome. Like when I
Mm-hmm.
think about like, okay, like we can sit in that moment going, like, we're not panicking because we don't have the information or we don't know this or we don't know this. We're just, we're sitting with the situation. Like there's actually a decision to be made and we
Mm-hmm.
have to just choose one or the other. But I think to your point where it is at the end of the day, it is all psychology. Like I was talking
This
to
is
my group of people. I'm like, oh, guys, yeah, it's like what we're going to have at the end of all of this is like monthly meetings are just spreadsheets on track, off track, but it's the education, it's the expectations, it's the goal clarity. At the end of the day, where it's all decision making is all we're doing.
Yeah, and I don't think having the good spreadsheet, I don't think having the experience, I don't think any of that exempts us from the fear that comes from stretching ourselves, right?
Well
And
said.
yeah, and like I think that like these are all vehicles to help us like process through it. And like we're gonna need to continue to process through it each and every time, you know? And do we have the right people in our corner that I could say like I stretched and I'm not sure, and they can listen to that, right, and like allow us that space, and also perhaps in a gentle way, like point us back to the 100 times that we shared about a similar. Like I used to say, our business, well, I was going out of business every November. You know, thank God for my wife who would tell me like like you say this every November, right? Or like my best friends in the world, Kevin and David, and guys who would tell me like thanks for sharing. And I heard this last November. Right?
it's
You
it's
know?
so funny. I literally
Yeah.
we're now
Yeah.
September and I got an SOS from my best friend from college, his wife. He owns a family business. I was like, Amy, it's summer. We do this
Yes.
every year.
Yes.
And I said I love
Yes.
him to death, but
Yes.
like this
Yes.
happens every year.
Yes. Yes. And it's like, oh, how do we not judge ourselves that like we have to like go through that each and every time? You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah.
okay. It's just another process, right? It's just
Yep.
another process.
What were at where were you at in the growth, the life cycle of the business, you and Dave's relationships, Natech, when you reached out? Because I think you were listening to the podcast or something like that, weren't you? I
Yeah,
can't remember how
it
you came.
was it was 2020. So in 16, so my yeah, I made the deal to purchase the shares in 2014.
Okay.
My dad passed away in 16.
How was that
And
on you?
It was awful, man. Like I said, like we were very close, and we also spent an incredible amount of like we were father and son, but we were also partners. Like for a lot of
Hmm.
years, I'm not sure if people understand that haven't experienced that, and so we spent an incredible amount of time in a crucible with one another through like success and failure and success and failure and um,
Life in the trenches.
yeah, and life in the trenches. So I missed him. Like they were. I miss him now, man. I miss him now. Like I
Yeah.
wish, like anytime, like I'm thinking of something creative, or like on my way, to, like getting something done. Like I want to like run over and tell him.
Share the wins and the losses together.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I got 2 calls from my dad already this
yeah,
morning. So like I get it. He's
great.
like, he wants to talk about deals. And like, yeah, it's
Tell your
when I
dad.
think
Tell your dad. I said hello, but in absentia to my own dad, man. Tell your dad I
yeah,
said hello.
that's awesome.
I don't know the man, but yeah, I'm glad you
Yeah,
guys
it's
still get to enjoy that. That's beautiful. Yeah.
and the reason so you in 2016 your dad passes,
Yep.
you're still growing the business. Like
I'm
we're
still
so
growing the business. I get this company out of Japan that like tells us they want to buy us, right? Like, um, and I like entertain it because it like harkens back to my job with the Japanese, and I love their business model. They had like certain technology bells and whistles that like really made sense for us. It was like a place I was trying to go with the company. They wooed me and like brought me and Dave over to Japan, and they had us like write a business plan. Like we did all this like work over the course of 6 months, which you could call a waste, or you could call it the place on the way to the place.
mhm.
I wasn't skilled enough to know what they were doing, that they were just like getting great competitive information from, from us and kicking the tires. Cause like at the end of the road, it was like at the end of the road, they like gave me some super low ball offer for the company. Um,
Uh,
and I had spent like an entire summer with them.
what
And
was your emotions at that time when that happened?
it was like kind of relief in a way, because like I really like I said, I had just purchased it. I had just been like an independent owner from like 2000, so it was only like 3 years under my belt, which is nothing in business time. That's why when I
Right.
hear like these 7-year timelines for these PE firms and stuff, I'm like,
What a joke.
it's like I mean, I don't know. I think of mistakes that lasted 7 years. Like
I
it's
know.
like it's like I'm not embarrassed to say it. And like yeah, I think there's some things I could speed up the timeline on, but some things you just can't, right? So anyway,
Can you imagine hiring? Can you like the grow like let's
yeah,
double click on this for a second because like I think every time I've said in front of a group of people, like, can you imagine buying 7 or 10 companies in 5 years and integrating? Like, let's say all of the systems integrated perfectly. First of all, everyone laughs at that,
yeah,
and
it's
then
like
can you imagine integrating all those people?
yeah,
It's like having 7,000 groups of friends all of a sudden like each other. I'm like, yeah, right.
yeah.
It's so dysfunctional.
We bought our supply. So anyway, that's another part along the journey, but the M&A journey, and yeah, twice as long, twice as expensive. Like and like nowhere near what you expect. Everything you believe is not going to happen, and then you're going to get like unexpected wins and unexpected losses. And it's like I don't care how professional you are at it or how you draw it up. Like, and again, I do think that there's room in there to develop a model that works better than
Mhm.
most. But it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to get it
That's
right.
why all those perfect plans of all of this stuff happens. We get this
Yeah,
rate of return and we have this
yeah,
cash flow. It's up and to the
yeah.
right. No such thing as trade wars or
Yeah,
any
you're
of
right
this
at
stuff.
that. You're right at that inflection point of the hockey stick, man. It's like, yeah, it's
Yeah, you
just
buy this all
right
the
away,
time.
man. You're right there, right? It's like,
So when you got the lowball offer,
yeah,
two questions about this is like one is because like so many people, this is how their journey starts. Is
yeah.
like, oh, okay,
Somebody
what could the
wants me.
company?
Somebody wants me.
Well, I was just
Like,
gonna actually the part of that was gonna be like affirmation, right? Like
yeah,
again, like
yeah,
all of my
yeah.
mistakes are because I like was like someone likes and approves of
Yes,
me, and then I'm like, wait a
yes,
second.
yes, yes. Or it was like there was like an emotional soup in there. Like my dad had passed away a year earlier. I, um, like again, like the Japan thing, I had like some emotional
Mhm.
connection to like an earlier version of myself. I do love that culture in general too. So it was like there's always an emotional soup in there, and that was that one. At the same time, ironically, we got interest from a firm in Germany at almost at exactly the same time, and I really and they actually gave us like a credible. So at the same time, I got the lowball offer from the Japanese, and I got like a credible. What I looked at as a credible offer from the German. And I obviously said no. The Japanese one was the non-starter, but I actually said no to the one from the German firm, which at the time was a credible offer, and felt like to me like if I would have told my friends that I said no to this, they would have been like, "You're out of your mind." You know what I mean? And
I
yeah,
do. So
yeah,
the question I have about that decision tree and how you made that.
yeah.
So I'll tell you my belief, and I want to hear how you made that. Is like what I've come to realize, Tom, is like I think the biggest missing link for decision making of owner operators like yourself and I and the people listening into this is a lack of understanding of true value and valuations. Like, hey,
Yeah.
what's the value of the cash flow, discounted cash flow, the multiples of EBITDA,
Yep.
to be able to weigh out shit. Because like if you came to me and said, hey, Ryan, I want your iPhone, and you're willing to give me $100,000, I'm like, it's yours, right? But if you
Yeah.
like without understanding value, it's
Yep.
difficult to make a decision
Yes.
of whether we should keep it, sell it, what you offer. So like, what was your understanding of valuations? Like, why did you say no to that?
This is another Columbia thing, man. Like I'm a skilled valuation person. Like I took classes in mergers and acquisition. I took classes in turnaround. I know how to build my own DCF. Like I'm unusual for a business owner in that. Like I could build a DCF. I love building DCFs, by the way, like because they're all BS.
Talk about tinkering. Well, if we do this, and like
their math models, like the DCF math includes something called the terminal value, right?
Yep.
Which often makes up about 90% of the total value, and is basically a perpetuity. It's like imagining you're going to grow to infinity and bringing that value back to time t0, right? So it's and that's like 90% of the thing there. So
well,
nonetheless, I still find it to be a worthwhile model to like develop strategy and
because this is where I think it's worth spending a little time on. Or so like I've got these new articles out on my website called and I've got this lens of valuations.
Yep.
So owner's utility lens, what I call, is like, what's it worth to you as you decouple your job? So like, let's say like
I love that you do that, man. Yeah, that's great.
Because like at the end of the day, as you decouple your job and you have the ability to hire someone in your income statement and you can keep your income through distributions.
Yes.
The goal is like, yes, look at that DCF, maybe pick 5 years, the multiple and the EBITDA.
Yep. Yeah.
And then do the DCF for your like. But at the end of the day, you can eliminate, in my opinion, you can eliminate all that noise of all the math and all the bullshit and say like, hey, I can get $50,000 a month in after-tax free cash flow while my company continues to grow without having a complete involvement. Like that right there is a lifestyle and an owner's utility. Then I stack on top of that the multiple, the EBITDA, working capital. So that way someone could look at ESOP, private equity, third-party sale and say, okay, like regardless of the buyer, here's kind of the market range is what I call the market value. And then the strategic transaction value is like the actual deal with the deal structure, rolled equity, net proceeds. But the reason I'm bringing this up, and I think it's very contextual, is you were there with a lowball offer, a pretty good offer, and you chose to keep
my own models right in there too.
How did you,
in
like,
the football
as
field.
you're thinking about value and your goals and like why you made that decision? How did you?
Oh, I made the decision. Like you could throw all that out. So like after all the math, all the credible offer, my own perception of myself and how that works out in the math, right? Like, I think ultimately I felt like I wasn't ready. Ultimately, it was an emotional decision. It was like I wasn't ready. I felt like I had just gotten my entrepreneurial legs under me as an independent owner, and I felt as if like I was making my decision out of like if I were to sell at that moment, that there was too much involved with like fear of the future, you know. Like I didn't feel like I was making the decision free of that, you know.
Which I think it's so important for us to, as an owner community, to like, while you're juggling cash flow, while you're juggling people, while you're juggling clients. So like, it's so easy to hit that punch out number, that you hit that ripcord.
Hit the ripcord, man.
Because you're like, F it. Like, I mean, I interviewed this one guy. I mean, like, he's like, I was so sick and tired of my working capital that I sold. And like, I'm like, well, like your company was crushing it. So like that could be overcome. But like, all of those things come into the fact that you still said, I mean, it was, what I heard is Tom is capable of more. And I want to see if I can stretch myself.
I want to see how this plays out with like the strategies that I was only just employing. Like, I'm a professional marketer. We had just like started investing a significant portion of our budget in marketing like 2 years earlier, right? Because that it was just not the way. Again, like I don't want this to be perceived as so negative toward anyway, so all these
you're good at marketing. Well, I want to fill in some blanks so that way you don't regret anything you're saying. Like I think it's what I don't know how to quantify or even articulate other than like helping people in the goal setting process, where it has to do with this playground you and I have talked about.
The playground.
It's like,
the lab, right? Like,
right. So I believe, Tom, like, and this will get into as we get into how you met me and why you decided to eventually sell, is like, why I think most people do regret the sale is because they haven't seen their ideas fully play out. And they get exhausted with the cash flow juggling, the people. They get exhausted with the operations.
Yes.
They don't understand how valuations really work. So like, yes, you might be strapped with cash, but you have a valuable asset here. So it's like all this commingling of shit. Yet people still have a joy, even later on in their career, to watch their ideas play out and have that playground. And so it's hard to weigh all these vectors in the decision process.
Yep. So I felt like the decisions we making were good. I felt like I hadn't yet like run its course appropriately. So it just wasn't the right timing, and I'm glad I made that decision.
Was Dave an equity partner at that time?
He was he? No, he was not. No, he was not.
So so then now is it like
the next
game
year?
on?
The next year I buy one of my suppliers, 2018. That's 2017. I say no in September of 2017. I put that in the rearview mirror. I'm back at it, right? Buy one of my suppliers. That was another milestone for the business. Another very, very painful. Another very, very painful.
How big
process.
was it? How big of an acquisition was it?
It was pretty small, man. But like for us, it was a big deal. They were a supplier of ours. The owner, the older man was looking to retire. At the same time, their lease was basically like he would have hung on, but they're like, the building they were operating out of like got sold to a company that was like building 55 and over communities on this industrial lot, and so they had like 6 months to leave, or 3 months to leave, whatever it is. And it was like he just didn't have a move in him. He was an older gentleman, and they
was their staff, and there was
5 or 6 tool makers, and his son who I became very good friends with, and he and I,
that's awesome.
I have a very special connection with Paul and his dad, and
so you integrated the supply chain.
They were tool makers. By the way, my dad's a tool maker by trade.
Okay.
And he exited the tool making business. Like, tool making is it's the steel form into which the molten plastic is injected, right? So like without it, we don't exist. Like, you need tools. However, like there's like very low willingness to pay in the tool making world for one reason. It's like basically it's art. It's steel sculpture, and yet clients like beat the heck out of it. It's a one-time expense on the client's parts that they argue like crazy over. They want you to like own it and whatever else.
I have a client that does steel fabrication.
Yeah, I later found that like the engineering hours is where the real dollars are, because like nobody cares about like spending time on hours. The profit happens at the when you get the client
Labor.
all the way through to long term manufacturing. That's like the tail recurring revenue. That's like the holy grail.
Yep.
Um, Tool building is a loss leader, and engineering is like an opportunity cost, a thing that pays for itself. You can pay for
Super
your
cool.
opportunity costs on the engineering side. You know.
Super cool.
So anyway, bottom line, I bought this business and had to move it like within 60 days of closing. So I had to like pick up a whole bunch of equipment in one place, and it was in New Jersey, which is like it's like 60 miles from New York, but it could be like across the continent in terms of like the way we the differences in like I used to think like, wow, New York is like the most aggressive place in that. I can tell you that like New Jersey has an edge in terms of it, like dealing with the town and like the real estate agents there, and like trying to find a place while like I have like I'm holding a milling machine on the back of a pickup truck and like hoping that like I could like rent this place down the block. It was I wouldn't relive that. I wouldn't relive that 6 months again if you paid me, man. But like, yeah. So that was
All
my
the
that
stuff
was
we learned, twice as expensive, twice as long,
twice
right?
as expensive,
I had this
yeah,
I had this workshop, Tom,
yeah.
and this guy, we were talking about like, I don't remember what topic we were on. And he goes, yeah. He ended up buying one of his suppliers that was out of Germany.
Yep.
He's like, I bought this piece of machinery that we needed. It was like $3 million. The son of a bitch gets to the States, and all of the directions and all of the words are in German, and no one knows how to read
Yeah.
German.
Oh, you want English manuals? That's another 2 million. You know. You wanted the English manual. You should have said so. I'm sorry about that.
It's like
Yeah.
the new Sun
Yeah.
Country. You want to go to the bathroom on the plane? It's $5.
All right. All right. Totally.
Oh
Totally.
shit! So
Yeah.
2018, you acquired the company.
We
What's
acquire them, and it's a vertical ad. I think I'm smart. I think like, oh yeah, I'm gonna like provide the whole value for the clients. It's like, of course, none of it worked out as I expected, but some of it did, and eventually that became like a key part of like the final transaction was just that like we had that integrated capability in house. Like the clients really loved it from a perceptual standpoint. Like they would always ask the question like, do you have your own mold building? And
Oh,
if
cool.
if the answer was no, they'd be like, like we don't like it because there's like some perception of like integration.
Risk and on
Yeah.
risk. Yeah.
Oh, now
Interesting.
you're subject to somebody else's supply chain, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the clients loved it, even though like once I bought one and once I started answering yes to that question, nobody ever visited. Like they never even. It went from a no to a yes, and that was it. That was enough, for us to like
Would you
have
have done it? Would
credibility
you
on
have
it.
done anything differently?
Would I have done anything differently? Yeah, man. Like, how much time do you have? Like, I would have. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you want me to speed up or slow down or whatever, but like, yeah, there were a lot of things I would have done differently. But the most important was well, one that stands. I'll give you one. Okay. Um, I bought a 5-axis mill, a milling machine operates on a conventional milling machine operates on an X, a Y, a Z axis. Most people can, if I say that, most people can envision what I mean by X,
Mm.
Y, and Z, right? And but like machines built today operate in multiple axes, and there's a technology leap there from a machine perspective, but there's also a thinking leap that goes into like designing programs and work fixtures for 5-axis as opposed to for 3-axis. And it was a 3-axis EDM heavy shop. And I basically bought like the flagship 5-axis machine and like dropped it in the center of the shop. And you're laughing, bro. You're laughing.
All right, everybody, let's go.
Like, all right, now like make that thing work, right? And like, yeah, like this is a powerful lesson, man. Like I laid and I did this a couple of times through the years. These are like
Yeah.
stroke of the pen things where like, it's like so easy to look, man. It's so easy to write the friggin' check. People think that that's the hard part. That's not the hard part, And like, so many times I mistake, and like I would make that decision again. I would later make that anyway. But when you put together the human being and the equipment, again, going back to the values and the people, it's like when you start realizing that it's not about the next piece of equipment, that it's about the next person. And what that's really where the company takes off. And then I did have some very big successes where I took like a piece of space age technology and then actually had the right person to operate it, and like the difference maker that could be for an organization. But without the human being to operate the machine, and basically it was useless, you know. So
Isn't that
I would have,
so? It's
yeah,
so true, dude. And like,
yeah,
I have all of my experiences with that. Like, I mean, dude, it's like, we're selling managed IT services. Like, I had a bunch of copy reps. They're like, what is that? How do we do it? I mean, like,
yeah,
like everything has to rely on the people. And like, I mean,
yes,
I mean, I just think about how slow people adopt.
yep,
And like, and they need the space. You keep using the word space, and I like
yep,
that, and being realistic with expectations. But
yep,
that's why, like, you even say about the PE timeline. I'm like, it's just
yeah.
absurd, you know?
Well, like your community, right? Like I'd be willing to bet. I don't know everybody individually, but I'd be willing to bet that like there's like a bias there. Like equipment is so easy to like make the decision to get the next piece of equipment. For me, in my unskilled state, it was much easier to say like yes to a $250,000 piece of equipment than it would be to say yes to a $150,000 employee.
um, wow, there's a lot behind that, and it is so. Yes, I would agree with you, and I learned the hard way because, like, so in our family business, Tom, when we were going through the turnaround, again, because we were cash strapped, right? So
Yep.
you're looking at the income statement and your bank account versus the long term, like, how does this actually make my life better?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like $80,000 controller, $80,000 controller. And we're dating ourselves here because it's like almost 15 years ago. It's like now it's like a
$230,000 controller.
Yeah, $140,000 controller.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was like all like sub six figure like executives at a $21 million company.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, not only was it not just the pay, but I remember Paul Rahowski when I went through three CIOs who were building up. I mean, we did the IT services for the Minnesota Wild, right? So this is not insignificant shit.
Yep.
Yeah, right. And so I finally got Paul, and it was the step up order of magnitude change and how my life was different after I hired Paul, the trust and like the mental freedom I got out of like the leverage of him was inquantifiable. To be honest.
Leverage is the word. It's a lever, man, in the caveman sense, right? It's like you're able to move that
and
stone.
It's like the most important leverage.
Yes.
And so are you familiar with Dunbar's number, Tom?
I'm not.
So Dunbar's number, if people can kind of picture this. So oh God, I should almost pull it up. So I'm getting geeky here because like you're so I think you're gonna I have it in an assumption that you're going to see what I'm seeing here. So Dunbar's number is how many people you can manage in how many relationships.
Yes, so, I have heard this.
So I'm pulling this up here. So let's see here. So this right here is Dunbar's number. So I got this. You can see this here. So it's how many relationships we can manage, and it's like a fractal, right? And it's all about, and the constraint is time. So we have time, which is the biggest constraint. So when we look at so people listening in, it's like we have this we have 5, 15, 35, 50, or 150, where we can manage about 150 relationships. And Tom, what's so fascinating to me is I look at this. And so when I think about like when I talk about the time, cash flow, wealth, and the true leverage is organizing ourselves as business owner operators. We're like the executive team is the largest lever. Like what's the whole, like you give me a lever long enough and I can move the world. And it's those people that are closest to us that we're interacting with. And what I like, back to your machinery point, whatever we have to do, it should be like risk the entire company's future on figuring out who these fucking people are. Because I think you can, if you can, and now with my old company, I'm curious if yours, like, or my old team, I'm like, dude, you give me any business model. If I could get Stashi, Paul Rahowski, and I could go through my people, you
Yeah,
give me
yeah,
those people, name the
yeah.
fucking business.
Yeah. And I would argue, again, going back to the values, I would argue that there's some underlying set of timeless, enduring principles that those people believe in and behave toward. And yes, the names are just embodiments of those. And so once you know those, then you can get the person that's not on that list and make an accurate assessment as we can humanly make. Of course,
Yep.
we always make mistakes on
Yep.
that, but yeah.
So then
Any work I would do with anyone trying to grow, or I'm trying to build a new business, I would start with the values.
which is just the trust, right? The values, the trust, and just a
Yep.
way of communicating it.
Yep.
Because I think that I don't know what it is with me, but like when I hear, I know like when I'm talking to someone like you and you say values,
Yes.
it actually means something.
It's
but
so
it's just,
passe. I get it.
yeah,
I get
but it's
it.
real. Like it's like, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
real thing.
Yeah. I'm talking about, can you build it in a way that this isn't like words on a wall, or like, yeah, like it has to be embodied. It has to be embodied. You cannot go into the closet, think up the 3 words, and drop them on a group of people. That it won't work like that. It
Yeah,
won't work like that.
because
So,
it goes
yeah.
back to like when I think about culture and values and these people and this machinery, and we'll connect all this and keep the train going.
Yep.
It's when there's a situation that's not obvious that could have
Yep.
economic damage, and you do the right thing.
Yep.
When no one's
Yep.
looking.
Yep. Yep.
What's the decision tree?
How do you behave when at the point of attack? How are you going to behave
At the
right?
point of attack, which is business.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you buy the piece of machinery, dropped it in. So then you go back to that, reinforces your understanding of people. This is 2018, 2019.
Yeah, 2018. I'll fast forward if you like. I know we spent a lot of time here. I love talking to you, brother. By the way, it's just a
That's
lot
so
of fun.
fun, man.
A lot of fun. Grateful I found you in the universe, which like brings me to okay. So we buy Paul's dad's shop. Thought Precision, wonderful group of toolmakers. I love those guys. Wonderful man, Jim Thal, and his son again, Paul, who continues to be an ATEC employee and is a good friend of mine. The so we concentrate on medical. Business is growing. I really think like I found something. We built the mission, vision, values up in a way where crossed the 10 million mark, crossed the 15 million mark. So like
You're charging forward, like significantly.
we're like charging forward in that time frame. We ironically, like, we focused on like not just medical, but like we had a local client that was a manufacturer of diagnostic devices. So like a very simple diagnostic device known as lateral flow. It's the technology inside of all pregnancy testers, or it's basically a paper strip, but they're always encased in some sort of plastic. And there's a lot of intelligence.
Fascinating.
Yeah, there's a lot of intelligence that goes on between the plastic case itself and the strip itself. It helps. It's like basically it's all of what we did was like tiny plumbing systems. Right. So it's
Cool.
basically like
yeah.
all diagnostic devices are plumbing systems inside of a plastic package. And the way the universe is going, like in so many other things, it just keeps getting smaller and smaller.
I have to introduce you to one of my clients. He's a process engineer, and he helped build the needles, or they're not the needles, but the piping for like the thing that goes into your brain and into the catheters and stuff. Like the guy, like a process engineer. It's like he's very fascinating.
So it's all about scale now, Ron. So it's like there's like fluids behave at a certain small scale differently than they do at a larger scale, and it enables you to like do more with less and get more accurate and get earlier on like all decision making and stuff. So like we moved from that lateral flow market to like the molecular diagnostics market, and like we zeroed in. There was like a bunch of people in San Diego that like we got introduced to, and we zeroed in as a company. And then COVID happened, right? So it was like
how many people's stories, and then COVID.
Yeah, like so then we were like I was in like what I considered to be like this little wonky space with like molecular diagnostics, PCR, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden it was like my grandmother was talking about like a PCR device. You know what I mean? So it's like,
like, yeah. What do they say? Like, you've hit a bubble when you're a cab driver, when your
yeah,
grandma's
yeah.
talking about your business
Yeah. And it was
or
like,
stock.
exactly, man. And like there was just a ton of like, as you know, there was like a ton of capital out
Mm-hmm.
there. Then all of a sudden, like all that money got injected with COVID in general, like all these incentives got in, now everybody wants to be in that business. I called it the gold rushers. It was just like people that had no idea that like all of a sudden they're just popping up and so like capacity, capital, all these things were like washing into the marketplace. And like my phone never stopped ringing in terms of like people looking to purchase us from like 2021 onward. And I
Crazy.
ignored all that. I just considered it noise. Um, and then in 2022, a very direct competitor of ours in the United States reached out and wanted to talk about a merger, and I was like, oh, like I entertained that call because like the strategic combination of what we had and what they had in their value chain was really would have really made sense, you know,
Mm-hmm.
for the clients. And so like for all the hundreds of unsolicited offers that I just like,
Mm-hmm.
blew off, it was one that I was like, oh, like this actually
I
makes a
get it.
lot. This makes a lot of sense. Like, let me actually just talk to these guys, and so that really started. It was in like April or something like that of 2022, and then I got they were a private equity backed firm, and they had bought up a couple other pieces of the technology puzzle, and we were like the missing piece in there. And like I had said to David, like, well, if they make an offer above X value, then I would consider it credible. And it was like they made an offer of like X and a half, and I was like, oh,
Now what?
like what? Yeah, exactly. Like what? Yeah, like what is it? And like I cried like when the man handed me the sheet of paper. You know what I'm saying? And like he said to me, he said like, I just want you to know that like this is a very big deal. Like very few people like get to this kind of place. And what he was a career entrepreneur, so like he understood like um and I guess what he meant was like not the dollars, Ryan, like the um
The story arc.
yeah,
Like, did you?
yeah, like
Yeah.
the story arc, And then I was like, wow, I am not capable. I am not capable of sifting through this decision on my own, you know? Like there's just too much involved, even though I was like a skilled valuation person, even though I knew my business back and forward, even though I knew my industry back and forward. That's when I just started like much like I would say that like my greatest strength is my desire and ability to learn. And I said like, okay, there's this body of knowledge associated with exiting, right? And I'm gonna go seek the universe for this kind of information, much like I had done for any other piece of information that I needed along the way. And amongst a number of other inputs, I found your podcast. I think I probably either found it through Orlo or you referred me to Orlo. And um,
Did you LinkedIn me or something like that? I can't even
I
remember.
I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure, but like I will say that the frameworks that you got, like I remember, like I showed you my 3 statement model, and you're like, oh, this guy doesn't really need it. You're like, this guy's like usually we come in and it's like a shoebox, right? Like that's what you
Yep.
were kind of
Yep.
like used to
Well,
finding.
I think you and I will validate everything you said. Where like you knew all of your shit inside and out,
Yeah,
right? Like you like
yeah,
and like that because there's kind of like a way that I think about approaching a decision, and it's like you heard of OODA loops?
no,
I love the word. I know it sounds like Fruit Loops. Okay, OODA loops, and why I bring this up, Tom, is it's about decision making. Like, and I think about like what we continue to like surfaces for me is like we're just constantly deciding. as humans in relationship to our goals and the priorities that we have and the constraints that we have. And so you said that you understood all of those things, but then you're still stuck with a choice.
Yep.
And so I think it's just fascinating because like it's really just about decision making, right? And so when you reached out, you're like, what were you toying around with in like what was challenging of a decision making? Like what was tough about the decision that led you to seek out other things? Like what were the variables that were not obvious?
Oh, I guess because I knew it was like kind of a one-off thing too, right? Right. That's the other problem with this is like, first of all, you don't have experience, right? If I had experience, then maybe I didn't need it. Like then I would have already built up that help, that
Yeah,
support
but what's so
structure.
fascinating about you is like you knew 10 times more about valuations than everybody else that I had ever.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, so like you could have actually fumbled your way into like making a really good decision compared to all
Yep.
the other people that are blindly confident.
Yep. I think like another part of my nature is like and sometimes this helps and sometimes this hurts is like I perseverate or like I seek information, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And but again, like I think in this case it was a wise choice in this case because you only have one crack at, like okay, like yes, I could rebuild of course and like there's people that do this dozens of times, right? So but in this case it was my first, and other than the fall and the purchase there on that side, and also the purchase for my dad. So like all these things led up to this. So I did have
Mm-hmm.
some experience, but it does very much feel like when you're in the middle of it, it does very much feel like wow, like this is a big deal. Like
Mm-hmm. It's the
like
Super Bowl of your.
this is only one. Like this is only going to happen once, and you know you need the right people in your corner. You know.
So what I think is as I had, because you are very familiar with my new material, you were at the quarterly workshop recently.
Yeah.
Is like
Thank you. By the way,
this.
that was awesome.
Oh, so fun, dude. And we're gonna figure out how to work together too.
Yep. Yep.
um, is
No doubt. No doubt.
is ownership versus operator. This was an ownership decision, and you came to me because at the moment years ago, I was like more focused on like, hey, this M&A. There's like grow and sell. Now
Yep.
thinking about it just like a upstream a little bit of like, hey, even before this, you were doing a lot of ownership thinking before that. But when I think about your and I's conversation, like one of those couple like really deep, like weighted conversations, there was serious thought for you of like keep the business, step back versus sell it versus take it to market with an auction.
Yep.
What were the variables at play that were highly weighted for you that you were thinking through at that moment? Do you remember?
Oh, like there were like certain market forces, like I said, like the fact that like uh we were diagnostic specific, right? And so there was very much like I think it felt like this could really be a point in time.
There was a lot of momentum in your industry and
This
the
could be
buzz.
a point in time, you
Yeah.
know. So that was like the market forces that existed at that time, and then like the decision like with the like unlike the earlier time in 2016 and 17, and like the partner we eventually sold to, like the cultural and the technology fit was just fantastic, and the intention, their intention for the business post purchase, and so like what the sale would mean to the employee, to the members of the community, the NATEC community, and to the clients, I guess was so all three of those things came together, like what it meant to me personally, what it meant to the clients, and what it meant to the community, in a way that like it felt like the
That's
most
that's
respectful decision in the universe.
that's so awesome, dude, because what I have tried to do with my playbook is try to bring those variables to light. Cause like what I believe, like, cause it wasn't obvious for you, man. Like I remember you, like no, it wasn't. But like you thought so hard about it. I remember you tearing up on one of our calls because you're like, it's not freaking obvious. Like, and this is a final decision. The moment that this goes down, but
when you're an employee, then you're an employee, bro.
Yeah, and I wasn't very good at it.
Once the sale happens, then you're an employee. You know.
Well, and what I find fascinating about your level of thought, your like level of decision making, like how you make decisions, and like there's this base, like what I want for everybody is like the level of intention you had behind it, because you understood valuations. Like what I think so many people get effed up with, Tom, is like, if I don't know that this phone is actually worth $1,200 or $1,100 and someone's offering me $5,000 or $200, I get distracted with the price and the terms and all this shit versus like, hey, I actually need this phone and how do I replace this phone? Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's, so you were like, let me know if I'm on track or off track, where you were able, I think I saw you able to place the right amount of space and time thinking about the cultural fit, the strategic direction fit, what you were going to be doing after the sale, because you didn't have to like swim in the turmoil and chaos of what valuations meant to you most of the time.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Like I also had like I had an understanding about like a deep understanding of valuation, which is like super helpful when you're negotiating with third parties whose business is, you know, like if you're gonna sell to an outside party, it's either going to be a strategic or a private equity firm. A private equity firm, it's their business to pay the least for that business, and at strategic firms, they have entire departments that are dedicated to valuing companies, right?
And so if they don't buy you, they're going to take your IP and your trade secrets. And
you're at in many cases, people are at an informational disadvantage. An informational and like you're bringing a knife to a gunfight, so to speak, right? It's like. So there's like a very real information gap that I think needs to be closed if you're going to make a skillful decision. That's from the company side. From the personal side, I don't know if you remember, you had this like cool worksheet. It was like a personal waterfall calculator, and like you encouraged me to like, what is my ideal life look like? What does that ideal life cost? And at what number does it allow for that ideal life?
I still remember you pulling up the spreadsheet. You spent a lot of time with it.
And like I use that thing today, man. I go back to that thing. Like I love that spreadsheet, and it was another one of Pat's creations, I think, right? Like, I don't know if I'm towing too close to the line. If I am, you can cut it out. But
the endless Pat creations of
this is like a Pat creation. It was wonderful, man, and like it just again, like the question comes up, like how much is enough, right? From a personal perspective, and what does that mean? And there is a dollars and cents thing that can be gone on in that, which you did a very good job of illustrating that. And then there's like the sense of fulfillment, the sense of belonging, the like meaning, and all those other things. Which again, like there's like like the business aspect of it, valuation, community, clients, right? And then there's like the personal aspect of it, like who am I after this transaction is over, and like that side of it needs to be resolved, like well resolved, I think. Otherwise, when you get to the end of the road, and I don't think, like we talked earlier about fear and like some of it not being optional. I think that I knew I was smart enough and I'd done enough personal introspection to know that like whatever I did, 6 months later, I was going to tell myself like, oh, I wish I had done this, you know, because that's just the nature. That's just the nature of the human experience. So I knew that there would be anxiety either way. Again, like going through the process of aggregating information in the universe and and I made the best decision I could. And I do feel like it was, the right decision on a lot of levels. I do.
Well, and that's what I, and I think you articulated that super well, because I mean, me, on the other hand, I'm 11 years afterwards, and you're part of my 10 or 11 year therapy session, Tom. So thank you.
There you go. Let's go. Let's go. Happy to do it.
Well, it's because I was talking to one of my clients recently. Where like they've done a lot of really ridiculously good work where they've got their 3-statement model, they've got a lot of their comp plans and a lot of their play. Like, and at the end of the day, so we're sitting there looking at the cash position at the end of the year. It's still a freaking bet, right? Like it's still a bet. Like, what are we going to do with this distribution, acquisition? And, you know, like we're still taking a bet. But what I think is possible is to look ourselves in the mirror and say, I thought through every variable. It's still unknown, but I went from a 50% confidence rating to 80. And then just like, so that way, for me, Tom, to how you kind of word it is like, just eliminate all the resentment and regrets that you have for yourself later. It's like, hey,
to the degree that you can, right?
To the degree you can.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I couldn't have done anything else because I had all the information at my disposal. I still made a bet. And I had this woman, Candace, on the podcast recently who I really enjoy. And she is one smart cookie. And
I haven't listened to this one yet. I can't wait.
She's awesome. She worked in private equity, venture capital, public markets, and then she scaled her own company from $0 to $10 million. She almost sold it. And she's there's no lack of information that she had. And we were talking about assumptions and she goes, and I made a wrong assumption. And then she goes, I can still say to this day, I would have made the same choice. It was definitely the wrong choice. But I know that when I made that choice, I like if I go back, I would have continued to make that choice. She goes, but I was wildly wrong.
She chose to hang on, right? Is that what she chose?
Yeah, she chose to hang on, and then the whole thing shit the bed, and
it's powerful because like you believe in like as an entrepreneur, the way that you got there was you believed in yourself. Right.
Right.
And you've become very familiar with betting on yourself. So it's very attractive to imagine that whatever success you've had to date, you're just going to replicate it. The thing that needs to be balanced with that is that like there can be 10-year periods. And we had this at NATEC. There are periods where you just bounce around a certain area. So it's like, and like one of the good pieces advice I got, which I forget where it came from, one of the podcasts, or maybe more than one, where it was like, you have to leave running. Like, it's okay to sell too early. Like, I forget exactly how it was phrased. It was so elegant, but just like the idea that like you leave enough running room out there for the next party, right? Like if you think you're going to get it where like you squeeze every thing out of it, like it doesn't happen. Like there has to be a future
someone's buying a
person, you know,
someone's buying a future stream of cash flow.
Yeah, there has to be a future. They have to be able to envision it. It has to be real, right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, here's where there's a fascinating dynamic at play here, and I want to make sure we close out your story, but I want to maybe plant a seed for you and I to talk about this now or in a different episode. Is given the debasement of the monetary system and the dollar. Like, I think the valuation formula, it's like in the DCF, Tom, I mean, like very straightforward. The risk-free hurdle rate of the treasuries is total bullshit because we're printing 8% a year. So the whole DCF model is completely effed, and all of the valuation models out there are completely effed. So what happens is that, you know, when you talk about this someone has to have that growth. I think that there is a strong argument these days where, like, if you were to take like a full outside view of just your company as an investor and say, well, what's the best investment decision without all of like the emotions, which is real, like, and it's almost impossible to do this, but keep the cash flow and the distributions and actually keep the free cash flow. And Bitcoin is now inserting into the scene to say, okay, well, is that the new risk-free hurdle rate? It's volatile, but there's a argument now. I've got people I know that I work with where the Bitcoin 30% compound annual growth rate is like their hurdle rate for every investment in the company now. So you go, okay, well, now we start to balance out diversification, streams of cash flow. So like, okay, here's where I'm going with this is like, if someone were to say, okay, maybe of these variables of like, I like my playground, I want to make decisions, but I don't like my job. I still need to think about my wealth and all those numbers that you talked about. And now the paradigm has shifted. It's even shifted more so since you and I talked years ago.
Yep.
There's this opportunity to keep the infrastructure of the playground. And how did you weigh that playground and that laboratory and the value of having the resources to deploy ideas on top of then the investment decision, on top of all, like there's all these variables that I have had a hard time trying to help people weigh all of those different variables.
Yeah, look, I mean, you've always been, just by the nature of our journeys, you've always been a little bit ahead. You're ahead of me, right? Like it's like I came to you because you were at that time 5 or 8 years in post exit, right, of your family business, and so it was like you showed me things or ways of looking at things that I wasn't thinking of at that time, and I think here. You've now spent the subsequent 8 years like sort of honing in on this model, right? Which like I think is the right work. I love the work that you do, and I love that direction because like I also feel like I have like a bit of a calling to not only build things, like the creativity aspect is so near and dear to me, and being able to like coach and just I'm getting to the point in the timeline where like sharing my experience feels like the real value, you know?
You're not gonna be like your
So
dad, where you're gonna start another plastic injection molding company.
would I do that? I mean, I highly, no, yeah, exactly. And, exactly. So I think that what you're bringing up is like on like the Bitcoin and what's going to happen with the economy and all this kind of stuff. I, I look at that the way I look at like a tsunami or I'm like, well, if these things happen, I got bigger problems. So like, or like I'm gonna, um, like when you talk about like, oh well, you sold for like a big boatload of fiat currency. That's like, and it's like, wow, man, like that's just hard. That's just hard to hear. You know what I
But
mean?
it's a big effing boat, so
Yeah,
but there that
yeah,
I think therein lies. So like I want to make sure that we cover appropriately, like the deal structure, because like you and I talked a lot about how much do you need at closing,
yeah.
and then how much is okay, and how much do you need, because what ends up happening is like people will have those tentacles afterwards, and then they don't have any control,
I
and
think for
then
me, I lived in the fear of we were always like home equity line of credit on my house,
401ks, all the
like the 401k. Like I was always like for more than a decade, Ryan. I was like one wrong decision away from it felt like, I don't know if this is actually true, but I was like a decision or a quarter or a client away from financial ruin, right?
I'm
And
like
so
only laughing because I completely resonate
the
with it. Like
value of
the level
getting
of
out from
insanity.
the value of getting out from under that is priceless. You know what I'm saying? And look, man, I could have just as much fear today with the dream that was Natech Plastics, like actually being capitalized, right? Like I had an asset. Like it wasn't just a job, it was actually an
Mm-hmm.
asset. I
Mm-hmm.
realized the value of that asset. Now I have that asset in another form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
can have just as much fear today with that, right? But there is
But what's
something about
interesting,
having, yeah,
but isn't it interesting though? Like when you trade
it
that
is
equity and
interesting.
though, because like all of a sudden
Yeah,
you're like, because I had this one guy, he sold for 35 million bucks, and he's like, I just wanted to be worth 35, and I was like, Dave, you are. It's just in a different form.
yeah, yeah.
And he just could, like, no matter what, Tom, he could not wrap his head around the fact. I'm like, dude, you're already worth 30 million bucks.
He,
Like, you're just
here's
transferring it into something else.
totally. Here's another one that's important, I think, for post exit people to think about is like all of a sudden, like I find myself like I get really conservative around my personal capital, right? And it's like wow, when I think about it's only because I'm unskilled and I'm uncomfortable around that. Whereas like if I told people the kind of decisions that I made at Natech
Here's a
Plastic,
$500,000 machine, and
oh
that's
my
a
god, they would like
five, whatever.
give me the
Yes.
bucket to throw up. You know what I mean? Like and like I made those decisions on a daily, right? And it's like and now all of a sudden it's like no, like where's that $50,000? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
no, right. It's
yeah, it's
just
like
different. But what I think is fascinating, Tom,
yeah.
in like, because I don't care whether someone sells or keeps it or does any kind of combination in between.
Mm,
It's just thought through, which is why I've always enjoyed our
yes,
conversations, because
yes.
just, hey, man, let's like in 6 months when we're looking at it in the mirror, we're like, I tried my best. I made all the decisions based the best I could. But what I think is fascinating about as the paradigm is shifting, and it's
Yep.
very recent too. So like, I don't go back and like rethink everything, but like as the paradigm is shifting, I mean, like at the moment this week that we're recording this, every developed currencies, 10-year treasuries having an allergic reaction to the deficit spending everywhere. So like we are in this, it's flipping on its head, all the paradigm. But why I'm bringing this up is because now, like 3 years ago when we were talking, it wasn't a big variable, but now it's like, hey, if someone knows their business that well and they understand the valuation, it's an interesting variable to think about. It's like, hey, I might not like, okay, what do you do with the money? It's like, well, okay, well, I don't understand these different like ways that like, because it's true. Because my dad and I, same thing. Like it's like $250,000 payroll. We have no money ever. And next thing you know, you have all this liquidity and you're like, I literally have no idea. Right.
And you're not skilled. You're not skilled.
Oh my God, I got a guy going through liquidity.
Put it this way, I was not skilled. You know?
I don't think, well, and first of all, the people that pretend they're skilled don't know shit about money. It's like how much assets under management. And by the way, it's a, you know, it'll be a 1% and we're going to put you in stocks and bonds. It's like, and like, I just had my friend on the podcast too, talking about, he's a family office. He manages very large estates. And we were just talking about just like complete misalignment of incentives. Where I'm going with this is like, okay, well, if the traditional investment thesis is kind of ass backwards now because anybody that's got bonds is losing money. It is what it is. Mm. So then you go, okay, well, what then back to your point? Well, what do I do with all this stuff? Well, it's like now there's a newer, or it's always been there, but maybe more weighted of a relevant decision to say, you knew how to place those bets in the company. So that someone listening in, it's like, hey, you know something very well. You know, you were at a peak, man. Like you were your business, the industry and stuff like that. But if someone can see into the future, like 5-10 years, like this is a good business.
Yep.
You know, given AI and trade and all this stuff and the boomers, like, hey, this is still a good business. Like it might be a good decision to keep the business and just get out of the job.
100%. Also, like this is something you concentrated on in the beginning and you continue to, right? Like the growing for growing's sake. Right. And like how that's like, and revenue is vanity and profit is sanity, right? It's
Inc 5,000. Yeah, baby.
Yeah. It's like, oh, like, let's just grow, right? Like, why do you want to grow? Like, I have no idea, but like, let's just grow. And like, I have a greater appreciation now. I'm doing just a little bit of like dibbling and dabbling with investments. I'm definitely like, I don't even consider like personal finance like a way that I will actually accumulate additional capital. Like for me, it's like only in private business. Like, I was once heavily overweighted in a single microcap stock known as Natech Plastics, and I look forward to a place where like I once again am involved in the great American experience of entrepreneurship, you know, and I'm making some decisions in that regard to like use this capital to make investments in operating businesses again, because I really feel like that's where. For me, that's my comfort zone. I don't get scared of that, right? Like, I don't have to worry about like, what is the Fed doing with this or that, right? So like, yeah, it's like I can build a bit, just like
maybe New Jersey real estate, right?
Maybe that I can handle. I'll go right to the town of Clark office, right? It's like, you know, or we'll separate the pieces on the kitchen counter into wicker baskets for $2 a box, like that. Control, you know, that kind of way of doing things, like I can understand, and it's granular, and like you said, you could build a really nice life, and to bring it back around again, like that's So like all your customers.
You've thought so. You're such a thoughtful person. As you look and you just reflect, if you were to go back to Tom at the day that you bought it from your dad and say, hey. What advice would you give yourself that day?
Oh, that a lot of the pain is optional. That a lot of the suffering is optional.
In what way? What do you mean?
I mean like the fear, the false evidence appearing real. You know, around the decisions that like to trust yourself.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, to trust yourself, to trust the decisions that you're making, to continue to believe in people as the core of everything, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you know Naval Ravikant? You ever heard of him?
I may have. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, he's like a freaking like new age Socrates, Buddha, and
Yep.
he got asked this question and like almost in various different words said the same thing. And like, so like you are also a Buddha, I guess, because like because he said like he worded it with like, hey, if I were to go back, it's like, hey, the journey is the journey. Just be more gracious with yourself.
Mm, mm.
And you kind of said like the suffering's optional.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
we're gonna go through it. Like, hey, maybe just enjoy it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, man. What is you happy like nowadays? Like, how are you spending your time?
That's interesting. That's another thing like thought precision. So I did this another complicated spreadsheet that I'll send you a copy. I think I might have sent you a copy of it, but it was like, oh, where do I spend my time? Like when I was making the decision to leave employment, I really thought through like where do I spend my like okay, like I go like well what's gonna happen with that time? Like where am I gonna spend it? And I developed like a bucket of time and
You have a pivot table with like your
I do have
interest.
right.
Different weights and
Different weights and red, green, and yellow, and the whole business.
Maybe you are more related to Pat Hobby than
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Do you have a discounted cash flow of what
Right,
your emotions will be in the future?
There's a present value of meaning, right? Like, what's the present value of purpose, right? So,
oh God, that is good.
oh, like I had an idea. Like anyway, like I'm putting a lot more energy into my home, into my relationship, because like
That's awesome.
as a business owner, like nearly 40-50% of my time is spent like my 40 or 50% of my actual available waking time was spent in the business. And that's a tremendous amount of time because we sleep 8 hours a day, right? Or 7, 6. And we
Is your
need
wife
rest.
telling you to get out of the house yet?
No, man, we're enjoying ourselves. Like we again, like there's a lot of neglect around the home environment itself. So I'm like really making it a place where I love to be, and also like we're like 2 days ago went into the city just for a day to be together. Got a nice
Just
meal. Anyway,
unplugged and just being
walking around.
present.
This stuff. So you talk about time as being one of those one of those variables. So I've so there's that, like the home and the relationship are the places where I'm really spending a lot more time. And then whatever I do from a business perspective, like managing my wealth or creativity around like what am I going to do next, this kind of stuff is like I'm really doing it. I'm trying to do it. I'm not always successful, but I'm trying to do it in a way that I'm not grinding.
Have you processed it? I mean, because I find it takes a long time. I mean, you went from all that risk, all that stress, all that to being liquid, and then having no employee. Like what? How did you process that actually? Like, and have you given yourself the space and the time? And what was it like?
When I sold, and then I was just working as an employee. It was in many ways it was a much more stressful job than before. So I and that only ended in April 30th of this year. So it was like post sale, go to work for the new owners. Now you're going from a place where like, oh, like the one party has just like closed the chapter and the other party is like opening the chapter and their expectations are like super high, right? Because like, oh, they've just made
Got
this
time to get going. Yeah.
They want everything to work. It's like the start of something new, and it's like, meanwhile, like as the owner, you're kind of like, like you've just gone through the other side where like you're completely tapped out. So it was, and also like in a world of like we joked a couple of times about like please tell me what a good boy I am or please clap for me, right? Now it's like after years of like, so the ultimate avatar of that, me and my dad's relationship, and then being on my own and being free of that for a period of time, and now like, oh my god, like installing this third party, that now like my entire job became like, what's the results to somebody else. So it was that was very stressful transition for me. And
what was it like quitting?
And not only that, the irony of it is that the party that we sold to a German company. So it was like I went from having a German accent and being an arbiter of my success and failure to them like that, it came back. So it was like it's like
hey, Pops, man, I sold back to our ancestors.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like I had something about having that kind of leadership, I guess, attracts me in some way. So,
Have you thought about like what your dad would have thought of everything?
oh, he would have loved it. He was an entrepreneur. I often thought like if like I would have loved to have him to have been present during that time period. First of all, he's like a rock, emotion, like a good bulwark. You know, so many times I'd be like, oh, like remember when we were employees for our parents, Ryan, and we had somebody we could point to and be like, if only they listened to me or they made that, they won't make, right. And then like all of a sudden when I was free to make those decisions on my own, I was like, God, I wish my old man was here so I could.
I know, right?
Yeah. So it turns out when you remove somebody to blame, like then like you would like to reinstall, right? Like, so it's like,
yeah, right, exactly.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
wait a second. My favorite phrase is, I run and then there I am.
Yeah. That's right. Wherever you go, you find your family and drag, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So he would have loved it. He would have loved it because it was a good decision for the community, the clients, and it was a wonderful technology match. And also he was just a builder. So like he didn't have that kind of like, he was a real entrepreneur. He didn't have that kind of like, some guys like get really caught up in like the name on the window or the oh, like this is my family, like he was business, so he would recognize
watch it
a
grow.
good deal for what it was, and he would not have had like some emotional attachment to like, oh, like the name on the window or something like that. So
I bet you you would have gotten to that a boy.
Yeah, I probably would have got one. It would have been the first one
Maybe
since
from your
'86,
mom.
but
Maybe
the
from
first
your
one
mom.
from '86. No, this one I would have got direct. This one I would have got direct.
Tom, this is like, it was long overdue, man. I am so happy that we got to spend this time together. Very excited to continue our conversation, see what we can do together. I'm very happy for you, man. I really am.
Yeah, I would love to continue to collaborate, Ryan. Thanks for everything through the years, and I'm really grateful we had this discussion this morning.
Yeah. People want to reach out. Should they go to your LinkedIn? What's the best? Do you have a website yet? Or
you can reach me on LinkedIn. There's my email is up there.
Okay.
Yeah, doing my thing, man. Happy to talk.
I love it.
All things creative with business owners. So
that's awesome. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, man. Take care now.